All right, hello and welcome to Wild Logic. Today the theme is authenticity. I know it's overused. You can get authentic cupcakes at I don't know. It's used a lot. But we're going to tap into what that means to really be embodied in ourselves. I was listening to a YouTube where someone was mentioning how these people were really off the chart energetically. Even more than the vibration of love is the vibration of truth. And I think, on my perspective, I don't know how it's language can really get in the way. And this is one of the reasons I love the Tao, and I'm going to be reading a message from the Tao, because language can start to get in the way, because maybe love, the vibration of love, when we take the label off, maybe is less potent than that embodied truth, right? Because it's but it becomes down to semantics. So there's this level of embodiment, I think, that comes with authenticity, where love is incredible embodiment, and they're not necessarily different things. Again, language, right? So let's not get stuck in our heads about that. But there is a vibrational spectrum, and when you're truly honoring yourself, it's powerful. Okay. The master gives himself up to whatever the moment brings. He knows that he is going to die and has nothing left to hold on to. No illusions in his mind, no resistances in his body. He doesn't think about his actions, they flow from the core of his being. He holds nothing back from life, therefore he is ready for death. A man is ready for sleep, as a man is ready for sleep after a good day's work. Obviously, this is not going to be great if you haven't achieved a level of self-mastery. Just impulsively acting is different, right? This is where I think this word can be tricky, right? This idea of radical honesty, authenticity. Part of it is this built-in awareness and appreciation for all life that the master will have. Treating the world like it is oneself, right? So it's kind of different than how we were treated to think of everything as separate in boxes. Okay, let's dig into this reading. Let's see where authenticity takes us today. And it's not a surprise that, oh, this is cool. Okay. I've been away from the deck for a while, and here at the bottom, obviously being tapped into your intuition, the High Priestess energy, it's going to help. It's this realm between worlds, right? The 3D and the 5D, the physical world and the world beyond, of these higher spiritual truths, walking that line. So one of the things I like to think deeply about life, and whether I'm infinite or finite, I try to live a life I'm proud of, right? Walking that line in between worlds. And then here we have the Four of Wands. And, proud is it's another word, right? And so I guess I'm just being called to acknowledge that might land with people a lot of different ways. One that feels correct based on my inner truth to the best of my ability today. And it's a journey. And I think sometimes the place that I'll get frozen is when I am trying too hard, right, to make it perfect. Definitely suffer from perfectionism. Okay, so this Four of Wands is beautiful because it's talking about this belonging, right? As we learn to be authentic in our intuition, we will come into the Four of Wands. And I'm noticing how these pillars are doubling into Four Wands. It's it's very mirrored here, the inside and the outside. Once we start to trust ourselves and be ourselves, we will find our people, our tribe, if you will, right? And 2 to 4. And then here we have this Ace of Cups, and this is in the realm of the physical world, the physical existence that we are here to explore. And this is like, it's totally by being embodied, by being the emotions, which has been, this is actually really where I've been trying to focus more. Like, how do I take care of myself in this world while staying embodied? That's my main goal right now. And it's really interesting because there's so much information, there's so much energy. The body has the wisdom, the emotions have the wisdom. And it's not that the emotions are information and we pay attention to them and release them, right? We want to also clear the stuck emotions, clear the shadow pieces. And so here in the Seven of Wands is coming in for the mind and emotions, which it's interesting because this is like really does reflect what I'm talking about here, is this level of protectiveness of ourselves. And this isn't an overprotectiveness. This is an appropriate level of a protectiveness where we are going to be embodied and we are going to think and pay attention to our emotions and like learn how to come into alignment. If we want to be in alignment to be authentic in this world, there are these 3 levels, and there's so many ways to break this down, but I like this, like right thinking, right doing, and right thinking, right feeling, and right action. So it's starting to do your best to bring those into alignment. And in this world, there's so much information. I've also been studying the history of coaching because, I don't have anything against all coaches, but there are some manipulative sales techniques that have been built into, a lot of our lives, including coaching, right? And so that's, actually a series of videos that I'm going to be working on, because like, how do we know like what to follow and what not to follow when we're actually, people play on these systems, like whether it's intentional or not. I think people that help other people are coming from their experiences. And sometimes what they have to offer can be helpful to a point, but then if it's still built on unhealed trauma, it can get a little sticky. Okay, so let's continue. Let's see, how does that, oh, that's pretty cool. The cosmic egg. Oh, I like that. All right, that's fun. That's pretty. We have the Empress. This is the new story, the embodiment of nature, of flow, of receiving and giving, of being, understanding these cycles. This is so beautiful. Oh, and oh my gosh, this is like so cool. So many really powerful cards in this reading. And of course, like the major arcana are powerful, but it's all about context. The Six of Pentacles is about giving and receiving. And I just can't help it. I always bring up Robin Wall Kimmerer's new book, The Service Berry, every time I see this. And I'm reading this very slowly. I'm really savoring this book. She writes so powerfully. It takes me time to digest her words. And this is not a long book, but all flourishing is mutual. And that is such a powerful message. So this giving and receiving, if you're like me, you maybe have given too much, which it's still like, it's an imbalance that we have to address. There's certainly force and manipulations. And, if you grew up as a lady in the Western world, you probably were encouraged to give a lot, more than makes sense. And it's not to say that men aren't giving too much, as it's just this like over giving. Anyways, so like we have to work on our giving and receiving, and wherever that imbalance is, it doesn't make someone better or worse than someone else. I think that will block our own individual healing. It's time to like look at the pattern of what created it all and start to address that within ourselves and be compassionate to other people. Like perhaps they're on the other side of the wheel of giving and receiving, but see that overtaking comes from fear too. like, and being able to receive, not be able to receive comes from fear and control. So we're all in this together, my friends. Let's do another layer. Ooh, authenticity. It's making me happy. And just, speaking of giving and receiving, thank you so much for your time and energy watching this reading. If you've been here so far, like, I encourage you to hit that like button and subscribe if you like this message. What I'm doing right now, this is going to be the type of content, really, like, exploring life in a thoughtful way. It might not always be in the format of tarot readings exactly. I'm going to be exploring, like, drawing some of these patterns out in the future, maybe doing some animations. I'm a media artist, so I want to get a little more playful, but tarot is such a cool tool because it's what helps me heal, is using the tarot. And I also want to talk, give more information about how I used it to help me wind my way through a difficult time. Not to tell me the future, but to help me process my present. Okay, so with that in mind, love it. Your past supports your future. And like the 11, and the 4 of Wands is like an 11-11, but I'm just seeing a lot of like pairs of 2s. Okay, let's see. So your past supports your future. This also relates to the Justice card and karma. And for some reason, credit karma's popping into my mind as I'm talking about this, and this, like, you getting credit for all that you have built up in what you've given, but you have to open to receive, to have that balance flow. Okay, and that's part of authenticity, is actively participating in the giving and the taking. And it's honestly, it's a lie, because we're like on this more macro level, always giving and receiving on this, like, if you zoom out, we're a part of the pattern, right? It's happening, but we might not be letting it happen in a fluid way because we're afraid of what it means to participate, is what's coming to me. Welcome the divine masculine, and that's super fun because it's right next to the Empress, the divine feminine. It says that, but this is actually not the Emperor card, it's the Sun. So happiness, clarity, right? Welcoming that happiness, understanding that as challenging as everything in the world is, and this is not about toxic positivity, that stuff does not get you anywhere. It's about authentic gratitude. Really taking a step back. And here's the deal. If we worship money, obviously we need resources to do things. Right? But, and there's, I don't know. There's still, I think, I'm still, that's so funny. Okay, inflow with money. All right. Yeah, I'm caught. Like, I struggle with money a little bit because I think it's a really tricky form of abundance. I believe in abundance, and I don't think, like, wealth is a form of security. And I think that's where I'm putting the energy around it. Money is a tool, ChatGPT is a tool, the internet is a tool, like all of these things are tools. So I don't, like, in a way, like being in flow, I want people that have good intentions to have resources, right? And I think that's one way to think about it. But at the same time, so it's like, it's not money. It's it's about being in flow with money in the right way, right? The way the Empress is a part of nature, where we take care, when we give and receive, it's in balance. And this is the problem with abstract forms of trade, is it's very easy for things to get messy. And so as we're evolving and shifting, it can be messy. We have to challenge certain aspects of who we are, how we work. We have to face our shadows. Obviously, I'm still figuring certain things out, but I think we all are. It's a journey, and I think we all have the challenges we're meant to face, and some of those challenges are giving and not hoarding, right? So, and for others, it's receiving. The King. Control, reversal of fortune. Right. So this is really interesting, because here we have, the Justice card, and then the King, reversal of fortune. And so this like kind of further emphasizes that the more people become authentic and stop playing the game, right? Stop buying into the BS, really live from the place of the heart, right thinking, right feeling, right doing, from our own authentic standpoint, right? There is no one way. I can't believe in my heart that people would choose greed if they didn't have a deeply lodged shadow of fear and scarcity. So I think it's about healing no matter where you are. And I mean, I'm also getting that the people that need to step up into leadership roles need to be willing to take control. It is not control of others, but oversight of the systems, right? It's like being a good mensch. Someone who is willing to use power for good and also help to diffuse it. So here's the Alchemist, right? Because like concentrated power corrupts, because the people that are going to seek it are in it for certain reasons, right? So we need to diffuse the power and redistribute it properly. And this is beautiful, right? Balance and control, balance, intervention, destruction. And so like, as I'm saying all this, right? Like we could like sit on the sidelines of the world and be like, wow, like, well, this is all cool. Like, I mean, that sounds great, but I mean, like what can I do? You can do a lot within your own sphere. I think it's easy. And so this is like, I am talking about the wider world here, and it's partially to give people out there a touchstone, like a story, a new way of seeing things, like someone to relate to, something that might hit a touchstone within you that feels authentic. And this is how we build our authenticity, is what we hear, it resonates because it has that element of truth. And so sharing our voices is part of giving and receiving. So as much as like I am sharing this ideas of the world, this all is applied to us as individuals, right? Give control to the elements of your life that are based in authenticity. Like slowly shift gears into something more powerful. Speak more truth where you can. Be more compassionate and loving and authentic where you can. I mean, don't necessarily start with a place that's going to have consequences you don't want to face that day. Start in places you can face the consequences. So let's see what's next. Ooh. And this is cool because as this flow shifts, you're going to discover new things. And it's just going to open this whole world of possibilities for you. The thing is like once you start seeing possibility, it's gonna be more and more. Become excited about what you can do, where you can get into alignment, and you will find those places. And you can ask, like, you know, no matter what you believe, whether it's like a more like 3D version of reality or a more like, you know, mystical version, just by asking, our subconscious mind will start to find the answer, right? Or if you like to think of it in a spiritual way, the universe will start to give you an answer. Okay? So, but, you know, it's about learning to ask the right questions. Like, how do I become more authentic in a way that is gentle and meaningful, where I stay in my zone of safety, but I'm in that zone of growth, right? So I'm not in a place that's overwhelming or unsafe. You know, I'm not like running on adrenaline. I'm running on, you know, exploration, challenge. You know, I'm pushing myself, but not to a place where it's out of control is not the right word, because we're really not in control to begin with. Where it's like it's too stimulating. It's like you start to disassociate, right? Which I've lived so much of my life disassociated that it's that was a weird, I couldn't even deal with that. And so, and this is going to give you, oh, this is so cool. Knowledge and distrust, right? You'll start to see where to lean in and where to lean out. Because it's important to know how to trust things, how to ask questions, and how to get answers. And this is going to facilitate us on our journeys into the unknown, right? Because if you're a person in this world, it's very likely that you created a mask, even towards yourself. And self-discovery is a journey into the unknown, a beautiful journey where you get to start to discover the Empress within, you know, that natural part of you that is always in flow, is abundant because you're alive. It just sees everything differently. So you're not going to be hooked into you're not going to buy lies, because you're not going to be anxiously seeking. You're going to be seeking in a more grounded way. All right. Let's get some. Ooh. All right, so we got the rabbits and the shark. Cool. Ooh, then we got the spider. And the peacock. I think one more might want to come out. Let's see. The oyster and the mouse. So the secret that the oyster is keeping is held by the spider. So let's it's funny because as the rabbit came out, I think I was like remembering the message of the mouse. So let's get started here. So the rabbit is afraid of everything, overwhelmed and frozen. Oh man, it's tough to be a rabbit. It's tough to be this rabbit. So when in balance, sensitive, problem solver, good listener, right? So if you're here, you're probably, on the sensitive. Maybe think of yourself as an empath. I mean, sensitive, I think, can be a little bit of a tricky term. I like to think of it as aware. You're aware. And because you're aware in a chaotic world, you're sensitive, obviously. So when out of balance, over-explains and talks fast to bring into balance a day of silence. So giving yourself that time for mind wandering, which is just walking without a piece of media. This is something I suggest all the time to folks, including my digital media students. You need time for mind wandering to bring things together. It will start to ground all of the information you're in, and it's going to help you get into this intuition, Empress state with a lot more grace. Because when your intuition is pinging and you have so many other things going, it's hard to hear it. And that's going to tie into like the spider in a minute. So the shark is directness, exposure, revealing true nature and desire, which is awesome. This is what we need for authenticity. And it's scary as heck, which is like no reason that rabbit is frozen, right? Because to be authentic in this world where we're all kind of expected to mask up, people are gonna resist it. And even if you do it nicely, people do not like it when you don't go with the flow of conformity. So the shark is here to help. When in balance, intriguing, captivating, and mysterious, right? So there's a way to hold this that is, once we get grounded in our shark vibe, the lion of the sea is what I'm getting. You get to like have more fun with it. You're no longer threatened, right? When out of balance, sneaky and destructive, to bring into balance honesty. And I think the secret here is your honest assessment does not have to rely on anyone else's ability to see it. So I have this really great therapist, and, she's also human. So we all, as humans, all have blind spots, all have fears, all have stuff we're trying to figure out. And she started to bring a computer into our sessions because she was having trouble with work-life balance. I did not, on a core level, I was like, as soon as it started, I was like, I can't do this. I cannot have you typing on your laptop while I'm talking to you. On so many levels, it was like, no. And, as someone who, I teach digital media, I'm very aware, I'm also, have studied shamanism. I understand how, symbols and spaces and depth works. And it's not that she doesn't, but she really is, in this place of needing to sort stuff out for herself, which I get, and I want, I'm not against that. I'm against that 0%. And in fact, I'd be more than happy to end my sessions early so she had time to do what she needed to do. But I'm not willing to talk to someone whose laptop is open and they're no. I really deeply believe that multitasking is a myth, and that, even just having your cell phone out on the table while you're meeting with a friend, it signals something. You are splitting your energy, and it's not like things have to be perfect. These are just the things I know, right? But it also it hits me because when I was growing up, there was no time. Everyone was always so busy. I was going through unnameable traumas that were completely unseen because people's chaotic busyness, right? So it just, there's so many things in our world where the edge just keeps getting pushed. And from her perspective, she thinks I have a trigger, which I didn't even get a chance to tell her all of what I'm sharing with you right now. I think no, I think things are being called triggers that are just don't make sense to be done in the first place, right? And that's my impression, like that's my truth, right? And I think the thing is like I feel bad for asking for things, for having boundaries. So I get a little like into the negative shark energy, like into the dark side of the shark, because I know, like I've always known this about media. And when I study it, I just like, it seems like people are coming awake to these facts that like I knew just early on, and I don't know, like this is just my dharma, and we'll talk about the dharma last, but I it's so it's like kind of yes and so to speak our truth, we really have to learn how to be direct but also compassionate to not everyone not being there, right? And I think I'm still working on that around the computer in the therapy session. Okay, so the mouse is detail-oriented, small-minding, nitpicky, and nervous, right? I know. And I think this is the thing, is like I feel like she saw me in this energy because I didn't like it. And so when in balance, organized, resourceful, and prepared. When out of balance, busy with no purpose. To bring into balance a meaningful project, right? And so one of the things I'm working on is composing a book about digital media, like with some of this wisdom built in, using, accepted theorists to kind of support it. So I think one of the things is like people might perceive you in your authentic truth in this mouse energy. It's up to you if you hit the, balanced side where you just become resourceful and prepared. You know what's true, right? You do your homework. But you don't have to overprove. I think one of the things is like when you are someone who sees more, people might challenge you quite frequently, and you might try and prove things that everyone knows. So it becomes then like a battle of the egos. So do the big work. Don't get caught in people's little tug of wars, okay? So then we have the peacock, which is air. So we have everything but fire here. Peacock is really cool. This is about like inner beauty, compassion, the assimilator of anything. And so this is really going to support all of this, right? You can assimilate all of this information, not to make it like, not to put people's ego energy at ease, but to put the bigger picture, to process the bigger picture, to assimilate all of this, to create this give and take of truth. Okay, so when in balance, confident and kind. When out of balance, can't digest situations, right? So this is so important. Meditation on navel. I think just meditation in general, but feel free to meditate on the navel. That is the creative center, right? The second chakra of passion, right? So it's like you're allowed to be passionate about your truth. Even just saying that, it's wild, like for two reasons. We have been convinced to become passionate about acceptable truths, which are not necessarily our own, but also it's weird to have to say, like, it's like, I feel like it's so hard to do it, right? So here we have the oyster, right? Patient, secret keeper, hiding the inner treasures, right? This is that mask. It's pushed all this down. When in balance, feels blessed, generous, and masterful, right? Really get to know that side of yourself. It is not ego to witness your own strengths. It's when we put ourselves in a hierarchy above others that is the ego, when we can exist in a continuum of life in its geniusness, like, and we're just part of it. And we've been working, like, like, just honor, like, your effort and your presence. And you don't need to judge it. It doesn't need to be comparison to anyone else's, right? Because the truth is we never really know the truth. I could be wrong about everything. Ultimately, I mean, I certainly am doing my best not to be, but I could be. But all I can do is just feel blessed and do my best and keep going. So when out of balance, reluctant gripping clams up. To bring into balance, share something. And this is why when this came out, it's really interesting, because this, like, truth, right? This nervousness and truth is really at the base of this. And the peacock as this, like, inner to outer beauty. It's like, it looks beautiful on the outside because it's beautiful on the inside. And this is where we really have to do that, what many people call is shadow work. But it also can just be seen as, like, emotional release, right? When you feel an energy or like emotion coming up, giving yourself space to, like, let things go, let things move, don't stuff them in, giving yourself time and space to do emotional clearings. And this is all going to lead up to this spider card, which is just such a cool card. I mean, spiders are fascinating creatures to begin with. And this is such a beautiful card too, just with, like, the rainbow of it. So creator of prosperity through life's work and dharma, right? And so this is where the authenticity comes in. Like, wherever you're at, like, building a little bit of that authentic life's work. And that can be taking care of yourself, folks. That, it can be learning to listen to yourself. It can be just showing love to a pet. And it's going to build, because how you take care of yourself is directly connected to the work you do in the world. And this is something I'm telling to all you as much as myself. And really listening and keeping going. And, allowing for trial and error. Allowing for it to be a journey. When in balance, appreciative, enthusiastic, and prosperous. When out of balance, discouraged, tired, and forlorn. To bring into balance, playful creativity. And to have that actual playful creativity, right? You have to be supporting yourself through this authenticity, right? And it's, one of my challenges is, like, I have a very hard time having fun and being playful. I'm like someone who's funny and can be a ham and joke around and do that. So there's this, like, level of playfulness kind of built into who I am, but is also, like, a trauma response to, lifting the mood, So I do it, like, authentically, but it's also, there was, like, there's this thing that I've been starting to think of as, like, the spiritual sandwich. We're, like, deep down, or, like, on this level of the universe of our soul, we're good, right? Because the soul is whole. And then I've, like, studied so much information, but then there's this, like, middle place where I exist in the tangible world day to day. And that hasn't, like, my day-to-day middle hasn't come together. And that's what I'm really working on right now, is, like, making the, like, what's the mayonnaise in the, like, or, like, whatever, like, makes this spiritual sandwich work? Like, I have, like, kind of, like, the nourishment on either side, but what nourishes the middle? So I don't know if anyone understands what I'm talking about, but it's like there was something missing. Like, there was a level of, like, fear and performativeness that, like, and I think it was awareness. Someone used the term with me recently, analysis paralysis, which, I mean, it's, like, fair. I definitely think about stuff a lot, but I also think there hasn't been enough attention and presence applied to many things, right? And if someone wants you to do something, one way to discourage you from finding another solution is to tell you that you're an analysis paralysis, right? They don't want you to question, because then they have to witness you moving further through things. And I wasn't actually in even analysis paralysis. I was not settling for like working out at a gym where I would become like, there were just a lot of like environments that I was trying to find the best like workout spot, where I wanted to be in community. I do have stuff at home. I've been going to various places, but it just wasn't right. And it's not because I'm picky, right? It's because I'm looking for something specific that meets my needs. And that's, there's a lot that I don't care about. Like, I mean, maybe it's stuff that other people think I should care about, but like I'm not like into hyper cleanliness or like any, like I'm that stuff, like, you know, I'm like a gardener. Like I'm cool with like hanging out and being in the world, and like there's a lot of things that don't bother me. I don't need stuff to be perfect. You know, I don't need like all the latest gear. I don't but like energy is really what I'm looking for, and that might be rarer, and also just like not overstimulating. So anyways, thank you to anyone who stuck around for this whole reading. It was really a pleasure to have you here, and wishing you the most beautiful day. Until next time.